What if the people most likely to destroy your success are the people closest to you? Not your enemies, not your competitors, not strangers, your friends. In the 48 Laws of Power, Robert Greene presents one of the most controversial laws in the entire book. Never put too much trust in friends. Learn how to use enemies. At first, it sounds cold, even manipulative, but history, business, politics, and human psychology repeatedly prove the same thing. People who feel emotionally entitled to you can become unpredictable the moment jealousy, pride, or disappointment enters the relationship. And sometimes, an enemy can become your most loyal ally. Today, we are breaking down the hidden psychology behind the law, too, and why understanding it can completely change the way you deal with people. Robert Greene argues that friendship often creates emotional blindness. When we trust friends, we assume loyalty is guaranteed. We lower our guard. We stop paying attention to motives. But friendship comes with hidden emotional complications. Friends compare themselves to you. They notice your success, your money, your opportunities, your recognition. And over the time, admiration can quietly transform into envy. The dangerous part, most envy hides behind smiles. A friend may support you publicly while secretly resenting your growth. History is filled with examples of betrayal coming from insiders, not outsiders. Because enemies are predictable, enemies reveal their intentions, friends often hide them. Green explains that people hired from outside your inner circle frequently work harder to prove themselves. They value the opportunity more. They feel less emotionally entitled. An enemy who becomes ally often has more to prove than a friend who believes loyalty is automatic. That's the paradox of power. One of the historical ideas connected to this law comes from Renaissance Italy. Powerful rulers often avoided placing close friends in important positions. Instead, they sometimes promoted former rivals or outsiders. Why? Because friends expected favors. They become comfortable. They abused familiarity. But rivals understood that one mistake could cost them everything. So they stayed disciplined, focused, loyal. This principle appears throughout history. Kings trusted former enemies. CEOs hired competitors. Political leaders formed alliances with old rivals, not because they loved them, but because incentives mattered more than emotions. Green's lesson is not hate your friends. The lesson is never let emotions blind you to human nature. The core idea behind this law is envy. People naturally compare themselves to those closest to them. If a stranger becomes successful, it feels distant. But when a friend succeeds, it becomes personal. Suddenly, people think, why them and not me? That emotional tension can slowly damage relationships. This is why many successful people become more private as they grow, not because they hate others, but because visibility creates comparison and comparison creates resentment. Green warns that excessive familiarity weakens respect. The more available you are, the more predictable you become. And when people stop respecting boundaries, they may eventually stop respecting you. Power often requires emotional discipline, not paranoia, not isolation, just discipline. This law is often misunderstood. Robert Greene is not saying never have friends. He is saying don't confuse friendship with reliability. Trust should be based on character, consistency, and incentives, not emotional closeness alone. A smart leader observes behavior, they watch patterns, they understand human weakness, and most importantly, they avoid becoming emotionally dependent on loyalty. Because loyalty can change. People change when money appears, when power appears, when status appears. The strongest people understand this without becoming bitter. They simply stay aware. So, how do you apply law 2 in modern life without becoming manipulative? First, separate friendship from business, never possible. Many friendships collapse because expectation becomes mixed with money, authority, or success. Second, pay attention to actions, not words. Real loyalty reveals itself through consistency, not compliments. Third, don't underestimate former rivals. Sometimes the people who once opposed you become your strongest allies because mutual respect is built through conflict. And finally, never become naive. Kindness is valuable, trust is important, but awareness is power. The moment you assume someone could never betray you, you stop seeing clearly. Law 2 forces us to confront an uncomfortable truth about human nature. Emotions can cloud judgment, and power belongs to those who remains observant. The goal is not to fear everyone. The goal is to understand people honestly. Because in the real world, blind trust is often more dangerous than open position. If you enjoyed this breakdown of the 48 laws of power, subscribe for the more deep dives into psychology, strategy, influence, and human behavior. And comment below. Do you agree with Robert Greene's second law? Or do you think it goes too far? Thank you.